I know it can be an extreme challenge finding the right information, or at least useful information, when you're looking to buy your next monitor. And I've been getting tons of questions from you guys about that comparison side by side. Let's start with the bottom on that 4K HDMI 2.1 monitor list. Coming in at number 3, it's the Gigabyte M28U. Now, if you're a console gamer, this is HDMI 2.1. It gives you full support for both PS5 and Xbox Series S. It is technically the lowest MSRP monitor, well, was the lowest MSRP monitor when it came out at $599, but it does pack some really good features. It's KVM, it has a great calibration menu. Once you do calibrate, the color accuracy is extremely good on this monitor. The cable management is fantastic, and the monitor itself is fully adjustable. The FreeSync Premium on it is actually really solid. Now, I won't put it at the top of my list for motion handling, although the latest update to F07 does give it a better low input lag. It still didn't do quite as well as the next two I'm about to mention. However, I want to get into some of the downsides for all you guys out there that are looking heavily at the M28U. The first is going to be kind of that color. The HDR is a bit lacking on this monitor. And I know it's only HDR 400, but it's lackluster, which brings up the second downside, and that's the overall color pop and contrast. It didn't quite give that level of pop that I liked and saw from other similar monitors. And the fact that it has to be firmware updated in order to decrease your input lag, that's just kind of a pain. Don't get me wrong, I love the fact that Gigabyte did that and allowed users to unlock that extra performance, but if the monitor wasn't ready to go to market, why put it out? And it's just an extra lengthy process that can be kind of challenging. And then my last complaint about it, I've used the M28U often, and on my RTX 3090 with NVIDIA G-Sync, the motion just wasn't nearly as good as on an AMD FreeSync card. It just didn't compare in any way. Coming in at number 2, the Samsung Odyssey G70A. Some of the most notable mentions would be the fact that the motion handling, the pixel response rate was by far probably the best on any 4K HDMI 2.1 monitor that I've tested. The G70A is very feature rich. It's got the RGB on the back and the bottoms to give you kind of that hue in your room if you'd like it. The stand itself is fully adjustable with tilt, pan, height adjustment, and rotation. And it has a teeny bit of wire management in the back. And despite what you may have heard, this guy rips on console, whether it's the Xbox Series X or the PS5. It's just a good pairing for either. You know, the menus are great, the calibration capability is really good. It kind of has some standard names for the calibration techniques that you use. They're just pretty blanket terms, you can understand it. That being said, there are definitely some downsides, and the first is probably the most notable, and it's the fact that there is some IPS glow. The black level performance is fairly decent otherwise, but you will see kind of that halo effect and IPS glow, that bleed that happens on panels like this. The second most notable issue is the fact that it does have some handshake issues with Windows. Now, there are some solutions for that and workarounds, and Samsung is working on it. Now, to wrap that all up, there's of course the PlayStation 5 myth out there that's kind of been busted, but it still was a thing for a little while, causing some issues. So that pretty much leads us to the number 1 spot. And if you guys think you can guess, put it in the comments below. I'll give you a second here. If you think you know which one's gonna be number 1, I wanna hear it. Before I actually say the title, go down below, put it in the comments, in the description. Say what it is. Say what you think the number 1 is, and we'll compare it down in the comment section below. So I'll give you a couple seconds here. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so number 1 on my list, you guys, this is epic, I have to say. But before I do, I want to say thank you to you guys for watching this video. I appreciate everyone that supports this channel, and you guys are what keeps us going. So if you haven't already, go check out our homepage and subscribe to the channel. Put out a new video pretty much every single week about new gaming monitors, features related to gaming monitors, videos like this one that give kind of the top 3 or kind of top specs or what to avoid when looking for that gaming monitor. And we aren't stopping. We're going to keep making more. So without further ado, you guys, number 1 on that 4K HDMI 2.1 monitor list is going to be the LG Ultragear GP950. I've used the GP83 for a very long time, the GP850 for a good amount of time, the GN850, the GN50T. I've tested multiple others as well, and I've not really ran into a buggy mess or issues around those monitors and what they're intended for. So this is the monitor that I haven't personally reviewed on this channel, but with all evidence, with all history that I have with LG and their Ultragear monitors, taking that, pairing it with what I see online, the fact that they just have those amazing IPS panels, the color accuracy is 98% DCI-P3. It also is a G-Sync / FreeSync monitor, giving you kind of the ultimate utility, much like the Samsung did. Now, if we get into some of the specs, the calibration menus are fantastic on the GP series of monitors, giving you calibration tools only second to like the Gigabyte menus. And if you look at some of the benchmarking, the screen itself, the panel itself is very bright and has a good performing HDR. Now, it does of course suffer from LG's typical kind of downfalls. And it's the fact that it does have some IPS glow, some backlight bleed. And that does bleed over into overall black level performance and contrast. And the last downside is the fact that it's still pretty dang expensive. It's $899 and hasn't really come down from that. You know, within the next couple of months, you're going to be able to get a 42-inch C whatever OLED from LG and get even better HDR performance with kind of the same motion handling capabilities. So it's got to come down at some point. But nonetheless, if you want the best of the best, in my opinion, based on all available evidence right now, price to performance, even though it is really high, the LG GP950 is probably your best bet as long as you can get your hands on one. So I've said a lot, you guys. I've really broken down quite a few monitors, but for each one of those monitors, minus the GP950, I have a standalone full-on 20-minute plus benchmarking video for each one. So if you want to watch that full in-depth review, go to the homepage, check it out. There's probably a playlist that has them all, or you can find the individual video. Plus, I'll put a link down below for all of the monitors that I referenced, you guys. And if you haven't yet, once again, hit subscribe on the channel and like this video if you made it this far. Okay, so I'm gonna put a playlist as we wrap up here in the corner. It's gonna be a playlist about all the monitors I've reviewed. So if you just wanna watch one after another, you can click that playlist. But without further ado, you guys, I'll catch you in the next video.